Okay, so now I played part of this video. It just goes into talking about the human body, which a lot of people know, but I just wanted to get into the part about desalinization and taking ocean water and making it drinkable water, or water that you can use for plants or crops or whatever.
That removes excess salt and other minerals from water. In most desalination processes, the feed water is treated to produce two streams of water: pure fresh water with low salt and mineral concentration, concentrated or brine with a higher concentration of salts and minerals, then feed water. The feed water for the desalination process can be either seawater or salt water. Brackish water contains more salt than fresh water and less than seawater. It is commonly found in estuaries.
I told them, hey mom, I spent 8 years on this degree, but I hate it and I really want to change jobs. I'm sorry, I know.
Downstream of rivers where they meet the sea, and aquifers, which are underground water reserves. An early American desalination plant was built in Freeport, Texas in 1961. It produces 1 million gallons per day, MGD, using the long vertical tube distillation LVT process to produce water for the city of Freeport, Texas. As technology develops rapidly, two other processes, thermal and membrane, are becoming viable options for converting salt water into fresh drinking water. Desalination technologies. Two main distillation technologies are used worldwide for desalination: thermal distillation and membrane distillation. Thermal distillation technology is widespread in the Middle East, mainly because the region's oil reserves keep energy costs low. The three main large-scale thermal processes are multi-stage flash distillation, MSF, multi-purpose distillation, MED, and vapor compression distillation, VCD. Another thermal process, solar distillation, is mostly used for very small production quantities. Membrane distillation technology is mainly used in the United States. This system treats feed water using a pressure gradient to force water across the membrane. The three main membrane processes are electrodialysis, ED, reverse electrodialysis, EDR, and reverse osmosis, RO. Types of thermal technologies. Number 1. Multi-stage flash distillation. Multi-stage flash distillation is a process that involves passing brine feed water through several chambers. In this chamber, water is heated and compressed to high temperatures and pressure. As the water gradually flows through the chamber, the pressure decreases, resulting in rapid boiling. Steam, which is fresh water, is generated in each boiling chamber and is then condensed and collected. Number 2. Multi-effect distillation. Multi-effect distillation uses the same principles as the multi-stage rapid distillation process, except that the MED uses sequential vessels instead of multiple chambers in one container. Water vapor is produced when water boils, condenses, and collects. A large number of vessels makes the MED process more efficient. Number 3. Vapor compression distillation. Vapor compression distillation can be used alone or in combination with other thermal distillation processes. VCD uses the heat of vapor compression to evaporate the feed water. VCD is widely used to produce fresh water for small to medium-sized purposes such as resorts, industries, and oil platforms. Number 4. Solar distillation. Solar desalination is generally used for small operations. Although the solar designs differ significantly, the basic principles are the same. The sun provides the energy to evaporate the salt water. The water vapor resulting from the evaporation process then condenses on the clear glass or plastic layer and collects as fresh water in a condensate pan. The coating works well for transmitting radiant energy and condensing water vapor on its inner surface. The salt and non-evaporating water that remains in the tranquilizer pool form brine, which must be disposed of properly. This practice is often used in dry areas where safe clean water is not available. Depending on the design and location, solar distillation systems produce different amounts of fresh water. Recent testing of 4 solar space designs by the Texas Agri-Life Extension Service in College Station, Texas, shows that a solar system measuring less than 7.5 square feet can produce enough water to survive. Membrane technologies. The membrane desalination process uses a physical barrier, the membrane, and a driving force. The driving force can be the electric potential used in electrodialysis or inversion electrodialysis, or the pressure gradient used in reverse osmosis. Membrane technologies often require chemical and physical pretreatment of the water to limit scale clogging and scale formation of the membrane surface. Number 1. Electrodialysis and electrodialysis reversal. The membranes used in electrodialysis and inversion electrodialysis are designed to allow the passage of positively or negatively charged ions, but not both. Ions are atoms or molecules that have a net positive or negative charge. The 4 ionic molecules commonly found in salt water are sodium, chloride, calcium, and carbonate. Electrodialysis and inversion electrodialysis use the driving force of an electric potential to attract and move different cations. Positively charged ions, or anions, negatively charged ions through a permeable membrane, creating fresh water on the other side. Cations are attracted to the negative electrode, and anions are attracted to the positive electrode. If the membranes are positioned in such a way that some pass only cations and others only anions, the process can effectively remove components from the feed water that make them salty. The reverse electrodialysis process works like the electrodialysis process. The only difference is that in the reverse process, the polarity or charge of the electrodes is periodically switched. This backflow of ions helps remove floc and other membrane debris, thereby extending system life. Number 2. Reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis uses a pressure gradient as a driving force to move salt water under high pressure through a membrane that prevents the passage of salt ions. There are several membrane processing methods, including reverse osmosis, nanofiltration, ultrafiltration, and microfiltration. The pore size of the membrane varies depending on the type of process. Because the RO membrane has very small pores, the feed water needs to be treated before it can flow. Water can be pretreated chemically to prevent biological growth and lime scale formation and physically to remove all suspended matter. The high-pressure feed water flows through the individual membrane elements. The helical RO membrane elements are constructed.
I just want to say, listening to this membrane desalinization system, it sounds as though, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds as though that is a very slow way to desalinize. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. If it's going through these membranes and it's trying to collect all these little salt particles, it seems to me that it would be a very tedious way to collect desalinized water. But if anybody knows about this, let me know.
In a concentric spiral pattern that allows alternating feed water layers and spacing of the brine, RO membrane, and the porous product, the aqueous carrier. The product's porous water carrier allows makeup water to flow through the center of the membrane element to collect in the product waterline. The individual membrane elements are connected in series so that each pressure vessel can process more water.
I'm about to cash this check for $50,000 for an accident I was involved in over.
After the water passes through the membrane elements in the pressure tank, it is further processed. After being purified, the water is processed for distribution to the community. Now let's discuss, why aren't desalination plants everywhere? Because desalination is not a silver bullet. It is very expensive, uses a lot of energy, pollutes, and is only really feasible for coastal communities. Seawater desalination is one of the most expensive sources of fresh water. Overall, desalination costs, including the cost of designing, permitting, and managing concentrates, are high, both in absolute terms and when compared to the costs of other alternatives. Since desalination requires a lot of energy, plant maintenance becomes very expensive. Energy is reportedly the single largest cost for a desalination plant, accounting for nearly half of the cost of ensuring the viability of drinking water from the ocean. According to a Pacific Institute report, desalination plants on average use about 15,000 kilowatt hours of power for every million gallons of fresh water that are produced. And that high energy demand raises concerns about emissions. The cost of desalination is not only monetary, but also ecological. Marine life can be sucked into desalination plants, killing small marine life such as small fish and plankton, and breaking the food chain. There are also concerns about what happens to the separated salt, which remains as highly concentrated brine. Pumping this super salt water back into the ocean can harm local aquatic life. Reducing this impact is possible, but increases costs. Excessive costs, energy consumption, and threats to fisheries and the ocean should make people think twice about desalination as a solution. Conservation and recycling programs are usually a much cheaper and less risky alternative to desalination plants. Companies are now helping households and businesses use their water more efficiently. By using water-efficient product options without compromising product quality or productivity, we can help conserve our most valuable natural resource. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.
So I just watched a video in California where they shot down a desalinization plant. I think it was in, where was it? Long Beach? I think Long Beach. And the reason why is they wanted to protect the coastlands and the coastline. But isn't there a way to do what's the word I'm looking for? Like underground pumping through like rock mass or things like that, where you're not really pulling in wildlife. Like what's the word what's the way I'm saying to do it? Instead of it being like a drain in your tub, or or your sink where it just goes down fast, the water from the ocean water, is there a way to make it a trickle effect where you bring in a certain amount of gallons and then it's filtered to where none of the animals or the sea creatures can actually be sucked up in it, like a slow churn type of water, extraction, and it being under like a rock mass, and the rock mass preventing sea creatures from being sucked up into the my brain is going dead. I hate when I do that. Anyways, into the desalinization pipe. This is what I'm asking, because the concern and why it got shot down in Long Beach is because they're scared for the plankton and the break of the food chain. But if there's a possibility, or people that are into that type of technology can let people know or make videos and let us know if there's a safe way not to break the food chain and not to harm the sea creatures, can it be done? Anyways, because I think we need to start thinking of more options. While they're sitting saying that the coastlines are being flooded, or because of the North and South Pole melting, and the glaciers melting, and the sea levels rising, wouldn't this be a actual positive outcome for this? And can it be done without harming sea life?